The distress signal came through at 3 in the morning, ship time. Tejo was sleeping in his small bed when the loud alarm woke him up. He jumped out of bed and ran to the control room of his cargo ship, the Blue Wanderer. The screen showed a small vessel floating in the darkness of space. It was not moving. The lights on it were very weak, almost dead. Tejo checked the signal again. It was real. Someone needed help. He was a simple cargo pilot. He moved boxes and supplies between space stations. He was not a hero. He was not a soldier. But his mother had taught him one thing when he was a child back on Earth. She had said, "Tejo, when someone needs help, you help them." That is what humans do. So he changed his course and flew toward the broken ship. It took him 2 hours to reach it. The ship was small and beautiful, even in its damaged state. It had smooth lines and a silver color that reflected the distant stars. This was not a cheap ship. This was something expensive. Very expensive. Tejo used his radio to call out. "This is the cargo vessel Blue Wanderer. I received your distress signal. Is anyone there? Do you need help?" There was no answer. Only silence. He tried again. "Hello? Can anyone hear me? I am here to help." Still nothing. Tejo thought about leaving. Maybe the ship was empty. Maybe everyone inside was already dead. But something in his heart told him to try one more time. So he put on his spacesuit and prepared to go outside. The walk from his ship to the damaged vessel was short but scary. Space was so big and so empty. One mistake and he would float away forever. But he moved carefully, step by step, until he reached the other ship's door. The door was stuck. He had to use his tools to force it open. When it finally moved, he stepped inside and found darkness. The air was cold, but it was breathable. The life support system was still working, but just barely. He turned on his flashlight and walked through the ship. It was quiet. Too quiet. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. He passed through a small kitchen area, then a storage room. Everything was neat and clean. Whoever owned this ship liked things in order. Then he found her. She was sitting in the corner of the main room, her knees pulled up to her chest. She was not human. That was clear right away. Her skin was a soft purple color, like the evening sky on Earth. Her hair was long and silver, falling around her shoulders like water. She had 4 eyes, 2 large ones in the normal place and 2 smaller ones above them. All 4 eyes were closed. Tejo moved closer slowly. He did not want to scare her. "Hello?" he said softly. "Are you okay? I am here to help." Her eyes opened. All 4 of them. They were golden, like honey, and they looked at him with fear and confusion. "Who are you?" she asked. Her voice was weak but beautiful, like music. "My name is Tejo. I am a human. I heard your distress signal." He held up his hands to show he meant no harm. "Your ship is damaged. You need help." She stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "I am Valera," she said. "I am. I was traveling to Station 12. But my ship, something went wrong. I do not know what happened." Tejo looked around. "Your power is almost gone. If you stay here, you will die. Please, come with me to my ship. I can take you to the station." Valera did not move. She seemed scared. "Why would you help me?" she asked. "You do not know me. We are not the same species. What do you want from me?" This question made Tejo sad. In the galaxy, most species only helped others if they wanted something in return. Kindness for its own sake was rare. But that was not how he was raised. "I do not want anything," he said. "You are in trouble. I am here, so I will help. That is all." Lol. She looked at him like he was crazy. But she was also freezing and weak, so she had no choice. Slowly, she stood up. Taeho noticed that she was tall, taller than him by half a head. She wore a long dress made of fine fabric, now wrinkled and dirty. On her fingers were many rings with bright stones. This woman was wealthy. Very wealthy. He helped her walk to the door. She leaned on him, and he could feel how cold her body was. She was shaking. "Do not worry," he said. "My ship is warm. I have food and water. You will be safe." They made the journey back to the Blue Wanderer together. It was harder with two people, but Taeho was careful. When they finally got inside and he closed the door, he let out a big breath of relief. "Welcome to my ship," he said with a small smile. "It is not fancy, but it is home." Valera looked around. The Blue Wanderer was indeed not fancy. It was old and small. The walls had scratches and dents. The furniture was simple, but it was clean, and it was warm, and it smelled like the food Taeho had cooked earlier. "Sit here," he said, pointing to a chair near the heating system. "I will get you a blanket." He came back with a thick blanket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Then he went to his small kitchen and heated some soup. It was nothing special, just vegetable soup from a can, but it was hot and filling. "Here," he said, giving her a bowl. "Eat this. It will make you feel better." Valera took the bowl with shaking hands. She looked at the soup like she had never seen such a thing before. Then she took a small sip. Her eyes widened. "This is good," she said, sounding surprised. Taeho laughed softly. "It is just soup. Nothing special." She shook her head. "No, I mean, you made this for me. You gave me your blanket. You." She stopped talking. Her golden eyes became wet with tears. "I do not understand you, human." Taeho sat down across from her. "What is there to understand? You were cold and hungry. Now you are warm and eating. It is simple." "It is not simple," Valera said. A voice cracked. "Nothing is simple. Not anymore." She started to cry. The tears fell from all four of her eyes, running down her purple cheeks like tiny rivers. Taeho did not know what to do. He was not good with crying people. But he could not just sit there and watch Dot, so he moved to sit beside her. He did not touch her because he did not know if that was okay for her species. But he stayed close. "Do you want to talk about it?" he asked quietly. Valera cried for a long time. Taeho waited. He did not rush her. He just sat there, a quiet presence in the room. Finally, she spoke. "My husband is dead," she said. "He died 3 months ago. We were married for 200 years. Taeho's eyes widened. 200 years? A species must live much longer than humans. "I am so sorry," he said. "That is a very long time together." She nodded. "He was a lord of the Corvani Empire. I was his wife, his partner, his companion. When he died, I lost everything. Not money or power. Those things I still have. But I lost my purpose. I lost my reason to live." She looked down at her soup. "I was traveling to Station 12 to visit my sister. She is the only family I have left. But I think part of me did not want to arrive. Part of me wanted to just float in space forever." Taeho felt his heart hurt for her. He knew about grief. His father had died when he was young. The pain never really went away. It just became easier to carry. "I understand," he said. "When my father died, I felt lost too. Like the world did not make sense anymore." Valera looked at him. "Your father? Humans do not live long. How old were you?" "I was 10 years old. He was a fisherman. There was a storm. He did not come back." "I am sorry," she said softly. They sat together in silence for a while. Outside the windows, the stars moved slowly past. The ship hummed with the sound of its engines. It was peaceful. "The trip to Station 12 will take 3 days," Taeho said finally. "You can stay here, in my ship. I have a spare bed. It is small, but it is comfortable." "3 days?" Valera asked. "Yes, I am not fast. My ship is old, but we will get there safely." She looked at him again with those golden eyes. There was something in them now, something that was not there before. It was curiosity, interest, wonder. "You are strange, Taeho the human," she said. "I have met many species in my long life. I have met warriors and kings and scientists and artists, but I have never met anyone like you." He shrugged. "I am just a cargo pilot. There is nothing special about me." "That is not true," she said quietly. "That is not true at all." She finished her soup and let him show her to the spare room. It was tiny, barely big enough for the bed, but she looked at it like it was a palace. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." "Get some sleep," Taeho said. "Tomorrow we can talk more, if you want." He closed the door and went back to the control room. He needed to set the course for Station 12 and make sure everything was running well. As he worked, he thought about Valera. She was sad and broken, but there was strength in her too. He could see it in the way she held herself. Even when she was crying, he hoped the next 3 days would help her heal. At least a little. He did not know that these 3 days would change his life forever. In her small room, Valera lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The blanket still smelled like the human. It smelled like warmth and safety and something else she could not name. She thought about her husband. He had been powerful and respected, but he had never wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. He had never made her soup with his own hands. He had never sat beside her while she cried. In 200 years of marriage, he had never once looked at her the way Taeho had looked at her tonight, like she mattered, like her pain was real and important. She closed her eyes and, for the first time in 3 months, she slept without nightmares. When morning came, Taeho was already awake, cooking breakfast. The smell of food filled the ship. Valera came out of her room, still wearing her dirty dress, but looking much. The 3 days passed faster than Valera expected. Each morning, Taeho made breakfast. Each afternoon, they talked about small things and big things. Each night, she slept in her little room with the blanket that smelled like safety. She learned many things about him. She learned that he grew up near the ocean on Earth, in a country called Korea. She learned that he became a cargo pilot because he wanted to see the stars. She learned that he had a sister back home who sent him messages every week. She learned that he loved music, especially old songs from his grandmother's time. He was simple. He was kind. He was unlike anyone she had ever known. On the 3rd day, Station 12 appeared on the screen. It was a large station, one of the biggest in this part of space. Ships came and went like bees around a hive. Lights blinked in thousands of windows. It was busy and loud, even from far away. "There it is," Taeho said. "Your sister is waiting for you, right?" Valera nodded, but she did not feel happy. She felt something else, something heavy in her chest. "Yes," she said quietly. "She is waiting." Taeho guided the ship into the docking area. It took some time because there were many ships trying to enter at once. But finally, they landed safely. The engines went quiet. They had arrived. "Wow," Taeho said, standing up and stretching his arms. "This is it. Let me help you with your things." But Valera had no things. Everything she owned was on her broken ship, floating somewhere in space. She had only the clothes on her back and the rings on her fingers. "I have nothing to carry," she said. "Oh, right." Taeho looked uncomfortable for a moment. "Well, I can walk you to the main area. Help you find your sister." They walked together through the long hallways of the station. The halls were crowded with beings of many species. There were tall ones and short ones with fur and ones with scales, ones with many eyes and ones with none. Valera was used to crowds like this. She had attended countless parties and meetings as a noble lady. But now, walking beside Tejo, she felt different. She felt like she did not want this walk to end. Finally, they reached the main waiting area. It was a huge room with high ceilings and big windows that showed the stars outside. In the center was a fountain made of glowing water. Around it, beings sat on benches and waited for their ships or their loved ones. "This is where I leave you," Tejo said. He smiled, but it looked a little sad. "It was nice meeting you, Valera. I hope you feel better soon. I hope you find happiness again." He started to turn away. "Wait," Valera said. He stopped. She did not know what she was doing. Her heart was beating fast. Her 4 eyes were fixed on his face, memorizing every line, every curve, every detail. She did not want to forget him. She could not forget him. "Tejo," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I have to tell you something." He turned back to face her, looking confused. "What is it?" "In my culture, the Corvani culture, there is a tradition. A very old tradition." She took a deep breath. "When a widow meets someone who shows them true kindness without wanting anything back, it is seen as a sign from the universe." Tejo blinked. "A sign? Of what?" "A sign that this person is meant to be their new partner. Their new spouse." The word hung in the air between them. Tejo's eyes went wide. "Wait," he said. "Spouse? You mean like marriage?" Valera nodded. Her cheeks turned a darker shade of purple. "Yes, Tejo, by the ancient laws of my people, I declare you to be my intended spouse. From this moment forward, you and I are bound by destiny." The words came out formal and serious. Around them, other beings stopped walking and turned to look. Some whispered to each other. Some stared with open mouths. Tejo looked like someone had hit him with a heavy object. "Hold on," he said, raising his hands. Wait. I was just being nice. I just gave you soup and a blanket. That does not mean we are getting married." "In my culture, it does," Valera said firmly. "What you did was not just nice. It was sacred. You gave warmth to a cold soul. You gave food to a starving heart. You sat with me while I cried and asked for nothing in return. These are the acts of a true partner. But I do that for everyone," Tejo said, his voice getting higher. "That is just how humans are. We help people. It does not mean anything special." Valera shook her head. "That is not true. I have lived for over 300 years, Tejo. I have met thousands of beings from hundreds of species. No one has ever treated me the way you did. What you call normal, the rest of the galaxy calls extraordinary." Other beings were definitely watching now. A group of small furry creatures were recording everything on their devices. A tall insect-like creature was making clicking sounds of interest. This was becoming a scene. "Please," Tejo said desperately. "Can we talk about this somewhere private?" "There is nothing to talk about," Valera said. "My decision is made. According to Corvani law, you are now my intended. The bonding ceremony will happen when you are ready." "When I am ready?" Tejo repeated. "What if I am never ready? What if I say no?" For the first time, Valera looked uncertain. You would refuse me?" "I barely know you," Tejo said. "We spent 3 days together." 3 days. People do not get married after 3 days. Humans do not, Valera corrected. But Corvani do. When we find the right person, we know. There is no doubt. There is no hesitation. The heart recognizes its match. She stepped closer to him. Her golden eyes were bright and serious. My heart recognizes you, Taeho. You are my match. I know this with every part of my being. Taeho looked around wildly, like he was searching for an escape. But there was nowhere to go. They were surrounded by curious onlookers. Look, he said, trying to sound calm. I am flattered. Really, I am. You are beautiful and smart and probably very important. But I am just a cargo pilot. I move boxes for a living. I do not know anything about being married to an alien noble lady. You do not need to know, Valera said. I will teach you. I will be patient. I will wait for as long as you need. But I will not give up on you, Taeho. You are mine, and I am yours. That is how it will be. Before Taeho could respond, a new voice cut through the crowd. Valera? Is that you? A woman pushed through the onlookers. She looked similar to Valera, with the same purple skin and 4 eyes. But her hair was darker, and her expression was full of shock. Nara, Valera said. Sister. The two women embraced. Nara held Valera tightly, her eyes closed with relief. I was so worried, Nara said. Your ship disappeared. I thought you were dead. I almost was, Valera said. But this human saved me. He rescued me from my broken ship and brought me here safely. Nara turned to look at Taeho. Her 4 eyes studied him carefully. He felt very uncomfortable under her gaze. A human, Nara said slowly. I have heard of your species, but I have never met one before. You are smaller than I expected. Thanks, Taeho said weakly. Nara, Valera said excitedly. This human is special. I have declared him my intended spouse. Nara's eyes went even wider. You what? He showed me true kindness. The ancient laws are clear. He is meant to be my new partner. Nara looked at Valera, then at Taeho, then back at Valera. Her expression slowly changed from shock to concern. Valera, she said carefully, you just lost your husband 3 months ago. You have been through great pain. Are you sure you are thinking clearly? I have never thought more clearly in my life, Valera said. For 200 years, I was married to a man who never once made me soup, who never sat with me when I was sad, who never looked at me like I was the most important thing in the room. This human did all of those things in 3 days. 3 days, Nara. Do you understand what that means? Nara was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. I understand, she said. But does he understand? Both women turned to look at Taeho. He felt like a small animal caught between 2 large hunters. I am very confused right now, he admitted. This morning, I was just a cargo pilot doing my job. Now, I'm apparently engaged to an alien widow. My life has gotten very strange very fast. You will get used to it, Valera said with a small smile. I promise to make the adjustment easy for you. What does that mean? Taeho asked nervously. It means I will be staying with you, Valera said. On your ship. Until you accept your destiny, you cannot stay on my ship. Taeho protested. It is tiny. There is barely room for 1 person. We will manage, Valera said. I do not need much space. I only need to be near you. Nara put a hand on Taeho's shoulder. He looked up at her with desperate eyes. Please, he said. Tell her this is crazy. Nara smiled sadly. It is crazy, she agreed. But Kovani hearts do not listen to reason. When we choose forever. My sister has chosen you human. There is nothing anyone can do to change that. But I did not choose her, Taeho said. Not yet, Valera said. But you will. I believe it with all my heart. Taeho did not know what to say. He looked at Valera, at her beautiful purple face and her golden eyes full of hope and certainty. He looked at Nara, who seemed to have accepted this madness already. He looked at the crowd around them, still watching and whispering. He was trapped. Completely and totally trapped. "Fine," he said finally, throwing his hands in the air. "Fine. Stay on my ship if you want. But I am not marrying you. I am not agreeing to anything. I'm just letting you stay because I cannot stop you." Valera's face lit up with joy. It was like watching the sunrise. Her smile was so bright and so genuine that Tejo felt his heart do something strange, something he did not want to think about. "Thank you," she said. Tejo thought that if he just waited long enough, Valera would get bored and leave. He was wrong. 1 week passed. Then 2. Then a month. Valera did not leave. She stayed on the Blue Wanderer like it was her home. Because to her, it was. She learned how to cook human food, even though she often failed. She burned rice. She put too much salt in soup. Once, she somehow set water on fire, which Tejo did not know was possible. But she kept trying, and slowly, she got better. She cleaned the ship until it sparkled. She fixed things that Tejo did not even know were broken. She sang old Korvani songs while she worked, her voice filling the empty spaces with warmth. At night, she slept in the small room. But sometimes, when Tejo was piloting the ship through empty space, she would sit beside him and watch the stars. She would ask him about Earth, about his family, about his dreams. She listened to every word like it was precious gold. Tejo did not know what to do with her. She was kind and helpful and beautiful, but he was not ready for marriage. He was not ready for love. He was just a simple man who wanted a simple life. So, one night, when they stopped at a small station to pick up cargo, he made a decision. He ran away. It was not a brave thing to do. He knew that, but he did not know what else to try. While Valera was sleeping, he quietly packed a small bag and left the ship. He found another cargo company that needed a pilot and signed up immediately. Within an hour, he was on a different ship, flying to the other side of the galaxy. He felt guilty. He felt terrible. But he also felt relieved. Maybe now he could go back to his normal life. He was wrong again. 3 days later, Tejo arrived at Station 47. It was a mining station, rough and dirty, full of workers and machines. He stepped off his new ship and breathed the recycled air. It smelled like metal and sweat. Not pleasant, but familiar. He walked to the station's main bar to get a drink. He needed something strong to forget his guilt. The bar was dark and crowded. Loud music played from old speakers. Beings of many species sat at tables, drinking and laughing and fighting. Tejo found an empty seat at the counter and ordered a drink. "Human, yes?" the bartender asked. He was a short creature with green skin and 6 arms, all of them busy cleaning glasses. "Yes," Tejo said. "We do not see many humans here. You are far from home. That is the idea." Tejo muttered. He drank his drink quickly and ordered another. The alcohol burned his throat, but it helped calm his nerves. He was safe here. No one knew him. No one would find him. Then the door opened. Every head in the bar turned to look. Tejo turned too, and his heart stopped. Valera walked into the bar like she owned it. She was wearing a long dress made of fabric that shimmered like starlight. Her silver hair flowed behind her like a river. Her 4 golden eyes scanned the room slowly, searching. When she saw Tejo, she smiled. "There you are," she said. "I have been looking everywhere for you." The entire bar went silent. Every being watched as this beautiful, elegant woman walked toward the human at the counter. She moved through the crowd like they were not there, her eyes fixed on him. Tejo wanted to run again, but his legs would not move. "How did you find me?" he asked, his voice weak. "I hired trackers," Valera said simply. "The best in the galaxy." They cost a fortune, but money is not a problem for me. She sat down beside him, graceful and calm. The bartender stared at her with all 6 of his eyes. You left without saying goodbye, Valera said. Her voice was soft, not angry. That hurt me, Tejo. I am sorry, he said. And he meant it. I needed space. I needed time to think. I understand, she said. But running away will not change anything. I will always find you. No matter where you go, no matter how far you fly, I will follow. That is a little scary, Tejo admitted. Valera laughed softly. I do not mean to scare you. I mean to love you. There is a difference. A large creature at a nearby table stood up. He was twice Tejo's size, with thick muscles and small, angry eyes. He walked over and stood in front of Valera. Hey, pretty lady, he said with a cruel smile. Why are you wasting time with this tiny human? Come drink with a real man. Valera did not even look at him. No, thank you. The creature did not like that answer. He reached out to grab her arm before he could touch her. 2 guards appeared from nowhere. They were Kovani, like Valera, but bigger and covered in armor. They grabbed the large creature and threw him across the room. He crashed into a table and did not get up. My personal guards, Valera explained to Tejo. I told them to wait outside, but they are always watching. Tejo looked at the unconscious creature on the floor. Then he looked at the armored guards who had returned to their positions by the door. Then he looked at Valera, who was calmly ordering a drink. You are terrifying, he said. I am protective, she corrected. There is a difference. They sat together in the bar for a long time. Valera told him about her journey to find him. She had traveled to 5 different stations, asking questions, following clues. She had not slept in days. She had not stopped until she found him. Why? Tejo asked. Why go through so much trouble for someone who ran away from you? Because running away does not mean you do not care, Valera said. It means you are scared. And fear is not a reason to give up on someone. Tejo thought about her words. He thought about his own life, about all the times he had run away from things. From his father's death. From relationships that got too close. From anything that made him feel too much. I am not good at this, he said quietly. At being close to people. At letting people in. I know, Valera said. But I am patient. I can wait. What if you wait forever and I never change? She smiled. Then I will have spent forever with you. That does not sound so bad. Tejo shook his head. You are crazy. Maybe, she agreed. But I am also in love. And love makes people do crazy things. They left the bar together. Valera's guards followed at a distance, silent and watchful. The station's corridors were dark and empty at this late hour. Where's your ship? Valera asked. Docking Bay 12, Tejo said. But it is not my ship. I was working for another company. Not anymore, Valera said. You are coming back to the Blue Wanderer with me. What about my contract with the other company? Valera waved her hand dismissively. I will pay them. They will understand. You cannot just buy your way out of everything, Tejo said. Watch me, Valera replied with a small smile. True to her word, she paid his contract that same night. The other company was not happy, but when they saw the amount of money Valera offered, they stopped complaining. Money talked, even in the far corners of the galaxy. By morning, Tejo was back on the Blue Wanderer. It felt strange to be home again. Strange but good. I brought something for you, Valera said. She handed him a small box. Inside was a bracelet made of woven metal. It was simple but beautiful, with tiny stones that glowed in different colors. What is this? Tejo asked. A courting gift, Valera explained. In my culture, when someone is pursuing a partner, they give gifts to show their devotion. This is my first gift to you. Your first? How many gifts will there be? As many as it takes, she said. Taeho looked at the bracelet. It was lovely. More lovely than anything he had ever owned. He thought about refusing it, but something stopped him. Thank you, he said instead. Valera's face lit up with joy. You accept it? I accept the gift, Taeho clarified. That does not mean I accept the marriage. It is a start, Valera said happily. Every journey begins with a single step. Over the next few weeks, more gifts appeared. A warm coat made of the softest fabric Taeho had ever touched. A music player filled with songs from Earth. A painting of the ocean, done by a famous artist who Valera had paid a fortune to create it. But the gifts were not the most surprising thing. What surprised Taeho the most was how Valera changed his life in small ways. She made sure he ate proper meals instead of just canned food. She reminded him to rest when he worked too long. She listened when he had a bad day and celebrated when he had a good one. No one had ever taken care of him like this. Not since his mother. Back on Earth, news of their strange relationship spread across the galaxy. On every station they visited, beings stared and whispered. A powerful Kavani noblewoman chasing a simple human cargo pilot. It was the most interesting story many of them had ever heard. Some thought Valera was foolish. Some thought Taeho was the luckiest man alive. Some thought they were both crazy. Taeho did not care what anyone thought. He was too busy trying to understand his own feelings, because despite everything, despite his fear and confusion, he was starting to feel something for Valera. Something warm. Something dangerous. Something that felt a lot like hope. He did not tell her this. He was not ready, but she seemed to know anyway. She always seemed to know. You are starting to care about me, she said one evening as they watched the stars together. I am not, Taeho said too quickly. Valera smiled. Your ears turn red when you lie. Did you know that? Taeho touched his ears. They were indeed warm. I am not lying, he said stubbornly. I am just confused. That is okay, Valera said. Confusion is part of the journey. You do not have to have all the answers right now. She reached over and took his hand. Her skin was warm and soft against his. I am not going anywhere, she said. Take all the time you need. I will be right here. Taeho did not pee. 6 months had passed since Valera first came aboard the Blue Wanderer. 6 months of gifts and gentle care. 6 months of confusing feelings and sleepless nights. 6 months of slowly learning about each other. But Taeho still had questions. Many questions. And tonight he was finally going to ask them. They had just finished dinner. Valera had cooked a traditional Kavani dish, something with vegetables and spices that made Taeho's tongue tingle. It was delicious, even if he could not pronounce its name. Valera, he said, putting down his fork. Can we talk? She looked at him with her 4 golden eyes. Of course. We can always talk. I mean really talk. About everything. About your past. About why you chose me. Valera was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. It is time, I think. You deserve to know. They moved to the small sitting area of the ship. Taeho sat on one side, Valera on the other. The stars moved slowly past the windows, silent witnesses to their conversation. Ask me anything, Valera said. Taeho took a deep breath. Your husband. The one who died. Tell me about him. Valera's expression changed. It became distant, like she was looking at something far away. His name was Lord Karen, she said. He was a powerful man. One of the most important lords in the Corvani Empire. When he chose me to be his wife, everyone said I was the luckiest woman alive. Were you? She smiled sadly. For a while I believed I was. Karen was handsome and charming. He showered me with gifts and took me to beautiful places. In the beginning, I thought I was living a dream. What happened? The dream became cold, Valera said. Karen was not a bad man. He never hurt me. He never yelled at me. But he also never truly saw me. To him, I was a possession. A beautiful thing to display at parties and events. A symbol of his success. She looked down at her hands. In 200 years of marriage, he never once asked me about my day. He never wanted to know my thoughts or my dreams. He never held my hand just because he wanted to. Tejo felt something twist in his chest. That sounds lonely. It was, Valera admitted. So lonely. I had everything a person could want. A huge house, servants, clothes, jewels. But I had no one to share my heart with. No one who cared about the real me. Why did you stay? Because that is what Corvani wives do. We are taught from childhood that our duty is to support our husbands, to be silent and beautiful, to never complain. I thought that was love. I did not know anything different. She looked up at Tejo, her eyes shining with emotion. Then Karen died. His heart simply stopped one night. And I was free. But I did not know what to do with that freedom. I had been a wife for so long that I did not know how to be anything else. So you went to visit your sister, Tejo said. Yes, I needed to get away from everything. To think, to figure out who I was without Karen. And then your ship broke down, and then you found me. Valera smiled. A strange human who gave me soup and a blanket and sat with me while I cried. Tejo shifted uncomfortably. I keep telling you, that was nothing special. Any decent person would do the same. That is where you are wrong, Valera said firmly. I have met many beings, Tejo. Thousands of them. Nobles and servants, rich and poor, from every corner of the galaxy. And I can tell you with certainty that most of them would not have done what you did. She leaned forward, her voice passionate. Most beings would have called for help and left. Most would have asked for payment. Most would have treated me like a problem to solve, not a person to care for. But you treated me like I mattered. You asked nothing in return. You just helped. But that is how humans are, Tejo said. We help each other. It is part of our nature. Maybe, Valera said. But I did not know that. In my world, kindness always has a price. Love is a transaction. Relationships are about power and advantage. I never knew that someone could care for another person just because they wanted to. She reached out and took his hands in hers. You showed me something I had never seen before, Tejo. You showed me that true kindness exists. That love does not have to be earned or bought. That someone can hold your hand just because they want to make you feel less alone. Tejo felt his throat tighten. I did not know any of that. I was just being myself. Exactly, Valera said. And that is why I love you. Because you do not try to be kind. You just are. It is part of who you are, as natural as breathing. They sat in silence for a moment. Tejo tried to process everything she had told him. He imagined 200 years of lonely dinners, of empty conversations, of sleeping next to someone who never really knew you. It sounded like a nightmare. I am sorry, he said finally. I am sorry you went through all of that. Do not be sorry, Valera said. It led me to you. But it is not fair. You deserve better than what he gave you. I know, she said. And that is why I am here. Because I believe you can give me what he never did. Tejo looked at her, really looked at her. In the soft light of the ship, she was beautiful. Her purple skin glowed gently. Her silver hair fell around her face like a waterfall. Her 4 eyes watched him with such tenderness that he felt his heart ache. I am just a cargo pilot, he said. I am nobody special. I cannot give you fancy houses or expensive jewels. I do not want those things, Valera said. I had all of that with Karen, and it meant nothing. What I want is simple. I want someone who sees me, someone who listens when I talk, someone who holds my hand when I am sad, someone who makes me soup just because they care. I can do those things, Tejo said slowly. I know you can. You already do. He was quiet for a long time. Outside, the stars continued their slow dance. The ship hummed softly around them. Valera, he said finally, I need to tell you something. She waited, patient as always. I have been running from things my whole life. From my father's death. From relationships. From anything that made me feel too much. I was afraid that if I let someone in, they would leave me. Like my father left me. His voice cracked slightly. I know that is not logical. My father did not choose to die. But feelings are not always logical. I was just a kid, and I was hurt, and I never really healed. Oh, Tejo, Valera said softly. When you declared me your spouse, I was terrified. Not because of you, because of me. Because I was afraid of what would happen if I let myself care about you. If I let myself love you. The word hung in the air between them. Love. Such a small word for such a big feeling. And now? Valera asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tejo looked into her eyes. All four of them, golden and warm. Now I think I am still afraid. But I am more afraid of losing you than of loving you. Does that make sense? Tears fell from Valera's eyes, streaming down her purple cheeks. But she was smiling. It makes perfect sense, she said. He pulled her into his arms. She fit there perfectly, like she was meant to be there. Her warmth soaked into him, filling the empty spaces he had carried for so long. I am not saying yes to marriage, he said into her hair. Not yet. I need more time. But I am saying I want to try. I want to see where this goes. Valera pulled back and looked at him. Her smile was brighter than any star. That is all I ever wanted, she said. A chance. A real chance. He wiped the tears from her face gently. No more running, he promised. I am here. I am staying. Good, she said. Because I would have found you again anyway. He laughed. It felt good to laugh. It felt good to be honest. It felt good to finally stop hiding. I know you would have, he said. You are very stubborn. I prefer determined, she corrected. Same thing. They held each other for a long time. The ship flew on through the darkness, carrying them toward an uncertain future. But for the first time, that uncertainty did not scare Tejo. It excited him. Tell me about your world, he said eventually. About Kovanni. About your home. So Valera told him. She told him about the purple forests and the golden skies. She told him about the ancient cities carved into mountains. She told him about festivals where people danced for days and ceremonies where families bonded under 3 moons. She told him about her childhood, about her sister Nara, about her dreams before she became a noble's wife. She told him about her fears and hopes and secrets, and Tejo listened. He listened to every word, holding her hand, making sure she knew he was there. This was what she had been missing, he realized. This simple act of being heard, of having someone care about your stories, your thoughts, your life. It cost him nothing to give her this. But to her, it was worth more than all the wealth in the galaxy. When she finished talking, it was late. The ship's lights had dimmed automatically, leaving them in a soft glow. Thank you, Valera said, for listening. Thank you for trusting me, Tejo replied. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I am tired. Then sleep, he said. I will be here when you wake up. Promise? Promise. She closed her eyes, and within minutes, she was asleep. Tejo stayed awake a little longer, looking at her peaceful face. He thought about everything she had told him. About her lonely marriage, her cold husband, her empty life. He thought about how a simple act of kindness had meant so much to her. He thought about humans. About how they took kindness for granted. About how they did not realize how rare and precious it was in the wider galaxy. Maybe that was why humans were special. Not because they were strong or smart or technologically advanced, but because they cared, because they helped strangers, because they loved without expecting anything in return. It was such a small thing. But in a cold, dark universe, small things mattered. Taiho pressed a gentle kiss to the 1 year. It had been 1 year since Valera first came aboard the Blue Wanderer. 1 year of learning, growing, and falling deeper in love. 1 year that changed both of their lives forever. Taiho stood in front of the small mirror in his room, trying to fix his collar. His hands were shaking. He had never been so nervous in his entire life. Today was the day. The day he had been planning for 3 months. The day he would finally give Valera his answer. A knock came at the door. Taiho? Are you ready? We are almost at the station. Almost, he called back. Give me 1 minute. He looked at himself in the mirror. He was wearing new clothes, the nicest ones he owned. Valera had bought them for him, of course. She was always buying him things, even though he told her not to. In his pocket was a small box. Inside the box was a ring. Not an expensive ring. Not a fancy ring. Just a simple band of silver metal that he had found at a market on Station 20. It had cost him 3 months of savings. He hoped it would be enough. The ship landed at Station 12. The same station where Valera had first declared him her spouse. The same station where her sister Nara lived. It felt right to come back here. They walked out of the ship together, hand in hand. The station looked the same as before, busy and loud and full of life. But Taiho saw it differently now. He saw it as the place where everything changed. Where are we going? Valera asked. She knew something was happening. Taiho had been acting strange all week. But she had not pushed him. She never pushed. You will see, he said. He led her through the corridors, posh shops and restaurants and crowds of beings. Finally, they reached the main waiting area. The big room with the high ceilings and the glowing fountain. The place where they had first stood together as something more than strangers. Nara was waiting for them there. She was dressed in beautiful clothes, and she was smiling. Sister, Valera said in surprise. What are you doing here? Taiho invited me, Nara said. He said this was a special day. Valera turned to look at Taiho. Her eyes were wide with confusion and hope. What is happening? She asked. Taiho took a deep breath. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst out of his chest. But he had practiced this. He was ready. Valera, he said. 1 year ago you told me that I was your intended spouse. You said that the universe had brought us together. You said that your heart recognized mine. She nodded slowly, tears already forming in her eyes. I thought you were crazy, he continued. I thought you were making a mistake. I ran away. I hid. I did everything I could to escape from what you offered me. He reached out and took both of her hands in his. But you never gave up. You followed me across the galaxy. You loved me when I could not love myself. You showed me patience when I deserved none. You saw something in me that I could not see. His voice cracked, but he kept going. You taught me that kindness is powerful. You taught me that love does not demand, it gives. You taught me that it is okay to be afraid, as long as you are brave enough to try anyway. He got down on one knee. Valera gasped. Around them, beings stopped walking and turned to watch. Just like before, this was becoming a scene. But this time, Taiho did not care. He pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it. The simple silver ring caught the light of the station. I know this is not fancy, he said. I know you deserve diamonds and gold and everything beautiful in the universe. But this is all I have. This and my heart. And I am asking you, Valera of the Corvani, if you will accept both." Valera was crying now. Tears poured from all four of her eyes, running down her face like rivers. But she was smiling so brightly that it hurt to look at. "You are asking me?" she managed to say. "After all this time, after everything I did to chase you, you are the one asking me?" "Yes," Tejo said, "because you deserve to be asked. You deserve to be wanted. You deserve to know that I am choosing you, not because of tradition or destiny, but because I love you. I love you, Valera. I love everything about you." A sob escaped her throat. She fell to her knees in front of him, bringing herself to his level. "Yes," she said. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. I accept you, Tejo. I accept your ring and your heart and everything you are." He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, as if it was made for her. She looked at it like it was the most precious thing she had ever seen. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "It is nothing compared to you," he said. She laughed through her tears and pulled him into a kiss. The first real kiss they had ever shared. It was soft and sweet, and full of all the words they could not say dot around them. The crowd erupted in cheers. Beings of all species clapped and whistled and shouted congratulations. Some were recording the moment on their devices. Others were wiping tears from their own eyes. Nara rushed forward and embraced them both. "Finally," she said, crying and laughing at the same time. "Finally, you stubborn human. I thought this day would never come." "It came," Tejo said. "It just took a little time." "A little time?" Valera pulled back and looked at him with mock anger. "I chased you for 6 months before you even held my hand. That is more than a little time." "I wanted to be sure," he said with a grin. "Stubborn," she repeated. "I learned from the best." They laughed together, holding each other in the middle of the crowded station. For a moment, the rest of the galaxy did not exist. It was just the two of them, finally together, finally complete. The wedding happened 3 months later. It was a combination of Corvani tradition and human customs, which made it strange and beautiful and perfect. Valera wore a dress of pure white, a color that meant new beginnings in human culture. Tejo wore a traditional Corvani robe, dark blue with silver patterns. They both looked uncomfortable and amazing at the same time. The ceremony was held on Station 12, in a beautiful garden that Nara had rented for the day. Flowers from a dozen plants filled the space with color and fragrance. Beings from across the galaxy came to witness the union. The story of the Corvani widow and her human cargo pilot had spread far and wide. Many did not believe it was real. A powerful noblewoman marrying a common worker? It was the stuff of fairy tales, but it was real. And as they stood before the gathered crowd and spoke their vows, everyone could see the love between them. "I promise to make you soup when you are sad," Tejo said, making Valera laugh through her tears. "I promise to chase you across the galaxy if you ever try to run again," she replied. "I promise to listen to your stories, even the boring ones. I promise to buy you fewer gifts, maybe. I promise to be patient when you are stubborn. I promise to be stubborn when you need someone to fight for you." The crowd laughed and cried as they exchanged their silly, wonderful vows. This was not a formal, cold ceremony like Valera's first wedding. This was warm and messy and full of joy. When they finally kissed as husband and wife, the cheers were so loud that they could probably be heard on the other side of the station. The party afterward was legendary. Food and drink flowed freely. Music played until the early hours of the morning. Beings who had never met became friends. Old enemies put aside their differences to celebrate. Tejo danced with Valera until his feet hurt. He talked with Nara about taking care of her sister. He received congratulations from strangers who had been following their story for months. At one point, he found himself standing by a window, looking out at the stars. Valera came to stand beside him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "About how strange life is," he said. "A year ago, I was just a cargo pilot. I had no one. Nothing special about my life. And now you have a wife who will never let you be alone again," Valera finished. He smiled. "That sounds nice, actually." "It is nice. Very nice." She leaned into him, and he wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "Do you have any regrets?" she asked softly. "Only one," he said. She looked up at him, worried. "What is it?" "I wish I had stopped running sooner. We could have had more time together." She relaxed and smiled. "We have plenty of time now. Hundreds of years, if we are lucky." "Hundreds of years," Taiho repeated. "That is a lot of soup to make." "Better start practicing," she teased. They laughed together, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Blue Wanderer was waiting for them. Their home, their ship, their life together. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. There were planets to see, adventures to have, stories to write. And they would experience all of it together, a human and his alien wife, a cargo pilot and a noblewoman. Two souls who found each other in the darkness and decided to shine together. It was a strange love story. But the best ones always are. As the party continued behind them, Taiho and Valera held each other and watched the stars. They did not need to speak. They did not need to do anything. They were together. That was enough. That was everything. And somewhere in the cosmos, if you believe in such things, the universe smiled, because it had brought two hearts together across the impossible distances of space, because it had proven that kindness was the most powerful force in existence, because it had shown that love, true love, was worth waiting for, worth fighting for, worth believing in. Taiho had never believed in destiny before. But holding Valera in his arms, feeling her warmth against him, watching the stars spin slowly past, he thought that maybe destiny believed in him, and maybe that was